Yeah, welcome home and hold this L. The Rockets made history last night, becoming the first, not just NBA team, but first team in any of the North American professional sports leagues to have at any point in the season both a 15-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak, at least 15 games losing and at least 7 games winning streak, let alone back-to-back. Vinny Goodwill from Yahoo Sports, I don't know. I mean, it feels like, and we never got around to talking about this, it feels like yesterday that Stephen Silas was answering questions about his job security, even though everybody knows the Rockets are rebuilding in the aftermath of the James Harden trade. What has gotten into the Rockets, and what buttons specifically is Stephen Silas pushing to get the most out of this team over these last 7 games?
I think it's about connection. I think you can see when you have a young team, and there's a lot of them around the league. Like if you're young, you're dumb, right? Like that's just how it goes. Youth is wasted on the young, and that's no different in the NBA. But when you have some explosive players like they have, with Josh Christopher and Christian Wood, who's really come back and been healthy and sort of making a bid to be an all-star. And then, yeah, they're doing this without Jalen Green, and I know everybody wants to sort of draw those conclusions and comparisons and say, hey, maybe it's because Jalen Green is going. I'm not willing to go that far yet. But Stephen Silas is not like a new coach. He's a guy that's been on the bench for a lot of teams in a lot of different situations. And now he's been able to deploy some of that. A lot of that comes down to teaching and teaching taking hold. Like you can be making improvements in the midst of a 15-game losing streak, but it's not manifesting itself in wins. And then all of a sudden, boom, the light comes on and you're better. And look, there's nobody who we should be happier for than Stephen Silas, considering he had to deal with James Harden last year and John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins basically saying, look, man, if he's around here one more day, it's going to be some furniture moving in his locker room. And everything that's happened with that franchise since, if nothing else, I think he cemented himself as a bona fide head coach in this league beyond the lineage, beyond whose son he is and everything else. And I think it's a great story for rebuilding teams in the NBA that you don't have to necessarily go tank all the time, that at some point these young guys will get it, and a little bit of confidence can carry you a long way.
Well, it's funny. Speaking of tank, there's some franchises that have done it to varying degrees of success. Philadelphia with the process. And even before that, Sam Presti with OKC, but they hit. He hit with Durant, hit with Westbrook, hit with Harden, and now he's tanking again. All things go in cycles. Has Houston hit with the right guy? They have the right guys. Can these guys develop into stars? Jalen Green, anybody else? Do you see real star potential in Houston?
I mean, star potential in terms of like Durant, Westbrook, Harden, that type of star potential. I still think
does Jalen Green have that in him?
I think Jalen Green has star potential. I think when I look at Jalen Green, I look at a guy like Zach LaVine in Chicago. Like that's where he can go. And Zach LaVine is showing himself after 1 year in college and having an ACL injury in Minnesota, and everything else. He's showing himself this year to be bona fide. If Jalen Green turns out to be that, then basically you're saying you're on the cusp of superstardom. Basically what you have is a lot of young players there. I still think if you're talking about superstars, I have a higher level for what superstars mean in the NBA. And by my count, there's maybe 5 in today's game, just 5. And I don't know. And there's a bunch of guys that kind of fall under that sort of level. And that's just because I have a more discerning eye about who I'm going to label as superstar. That's Stephen Curry, that's Giannis, that's Jokic, that's LeBron, that's Kevin Durant. And then we wind up talking about a bunch of other guys that sort of fit into that micro category. So it's a few guys that can fit into that second level. But for that superstar, that franchise player, that the second I say your name, you're saying, oh, we can win a championship with this guy. I think there's only a few of those in the league, and I don't know if Houston has that guy.
I'm going to take a pretty safe bet that Damian Lillard would fit in that second tier you're talking about. And let's share some leftovers with Vinny, shall we, Michael? I know you got a lot of thoughts left over from yesterday when it comes to this Portland drama. He said yesterday he is not asking for a trade. A lot of people are saying a lot of things, as you know, Vinny Goodwill, when it comes to the situation in Portland. I'll ask you like I asked our man Mark Spears yesterday. If you could pinpoint one solution, I mean, the roster doesn't fit what Chauncey Billups wants to do. They still are bad on defense, so it wasn't all Terry Stotts. McCollum's got a collapsed lung. Dame is hurt, and he was struggling before he was hurt. Questions about, him wanting an extension and whether or not the next GM would want to give him a $107 million extension through, I think, 2027. If you could pinpoint one solution, a place to start when it comes to getting this franchise on track, where would that place be, Vinny?
I mean, you hate to crack on a guy with a collapsed lung at this point, right? But when you look at Dame and CJ, you have two smallish guards who don't necessarily, who aren't necessarily defensively inclined, right? And they sort of play the position the same way. Two smallish guards who can create off the bounce, not necessarily natural facilitators, although they can do it. I think that's where you start. That's where you look at CJ and you say, we got this kid Anthony Simons coming off the bench who can be really good if we put him in a greater role, and whatever we may lose as far as scoring punch, we can gain somewhere else. But I think you alluded to it in a different way, Mike, that has kind of gone undersold. Damian Lillard did not play well in the Olympics when he was over there. He was thrust into a different role, playing, next to Kevin Durant, playing with all those players, trying to become more of a defensive player, more of a facilitator. And it seems to have translated over into this season where he hasn't found his game yet. And maybe that's because Chauncey Billups is asking him to play less of a freelance game, more of a control game. So, while they're 11-14 or whatever it is, we are used to seeing a few explosive games from Damian Lillard to this point where, man, Dame put up 40 last night and rescued them in a game that they shouldn't have won. Usually 25 games in, we've said that about Damian Lillard a few times already. So independent of the injury, which I certainly think has affected him, if he's 95% of the player that we're used to seeing, a lot of those problems will be masked. But even then, I don't know how great they would be. We've seen that ceiling, that they've had. And I'll say this about Dame. If everybody is telling you, hey, man, you should want out. You should want out. Like I done had a partner that was in a bad relationship, right? And the more that we said to him, hey, man, you should leave her. What you think he gonna say? Y'all
don't know her like I do. Y'all don't know her like I do. Nah, man.
Even if he knew in his heart that we was right, he's not gonna step somewhere and confirm it. He's got to balance it out a little bit. So for Dame, everybody's saying you should want out. You should want out. What y'all want to say? Yeah, I should want out, but I can't trade myself. You know what I mean? Like it's a lose-lose for him. And for us to speculate and everything else, yes, it's natural to do so. But do y'all want to see him play in Philadelphia? Do y'all want to see Daryl Morey win? Because I don't. And I mean, not in the standpoint of Daryl Morey win, and from the standpoint of how he's kicked it, and then all of a sudden you get rewarded with Damian Lillard.
I just want to see, Vinny. I just want to see resolution one way or the other. Not necessarily Philadelphia. But Philadelphia got its own problems that need solving, so I'm just solutions oriented, is what I would say.
How about this? How about if Portland, this is a radical idea, right? I'm just shooting off the hip. No thought involved. Yeah, just us three talking, right? So if Kyrie Irving has threatened to retire if he's traded, and that means his money comes off your books on whoever trades for him. And Brooklyn clearly needs a little more help because James Harden does not look like himself.
Ooh, don't do this.
Do you maybe call and say, hey?
See,
going back to that, we never started there. We never started.
That's been in the atmosphere. The Kyrie for Ben Simmons.
Not that trade. No.
He's talking about Kyrie. He's talking about Kyrie for Dame.
I'm sorry. I misheard you. I apologize. Kyrie for Dame?
Yeah, because it allows you to restart. You got a big contract. It allows you to restart if Kyrie comes off the bench. Let's say off the books.
If Kyrie comes off the books because he retired.
Yes.
So you're not suggesting that Kyrie. Okay, I got you. So it's not okay. All right.
And of course, that's like it's a crazy idea. Like I'm not suggesting it's just something that just comes to the top of the dome. And of course, this will get aggregated and everybody's going to yell at us. You know what I mean?
We're workshopping it. Yeah, we're just kind of like we're just throwing stuff out there, see if it sticks. I get it. Yeah.
Well, it's good because I like you threw out. I like the fact that you brought up this crazy idea. I got a crazy idea too. Before I get to that crazy idea, I'm just going to tell you this. You tell your partner. this
Partner.
about, hey, leaving that girl.
Partner.
Leaving her.
Partner.
She's bad for you. Partner. Okay, you tell your partner, hey, you got to leave her. And you know what he do? You know what brothers start do? Brothers start preaching to you. Sunny days, everybody loves them. But tell me, can you stand the rain? I said, can you stand the rain? Like, people just like trying to make it all deep. It ain't that deep. It ain't New Edition. Just move on. Dame, move on. But he probably won't because he is built in a different way. He's just wired differently than a lot of modern players. And I think that's important to him. In all seriousness, I think that's important to him, that he's not asking out that, like Giannis said at the end of the NBA Finals, I could have joined the super team, but this is my city, and I wanted to do it my way. The difference is Giannis had a really good coach, a really good general manager who listened to what he had to say, and they built around him. Dame, he's got these principles, but I don't think he has the other parts around him to kind of get him to where he really wants to be ultimately.
Well, I think the thing, go back to what I originally said when I said, if I name a guy, you're just going to say, boom, we got a chance to win a championship. Giannis is one of those 5 guys that you say that about. Yeah. Dame, like Michael Smith said, is a level below that. There's no shame in that because Luka Doncic is there and Anthony Davis is there and maybe LeBron James is there. So, but when I say those names, it's not, okay, I can just put something around you and things can fit. With Dame, it's a little more specialized. Even greater than a player like Stephen Curry. And of course, he wants to be there, the loyalty and everything else. And Portland, as a franchise, has bungled a lot of different personnel situations, starting back from when LaMarcus Aldridge left and everything else. Like, the list of who's who of who he's played with, aside from CJ McCollum, has almost been a poo-poo platter. So whoever you bring in next, if you're bringing in an experienced executive and you've got a kinship with Chauncey Billups, maybe you give that a chance while you're still in your early 30s and there's nobody that maybe truly scares you. The only player that would really scare someone in a conference, so to speak, is LeBron James. And LeBron is sort of starting to wind down. Even Phoenix and Golden State, as great as they are, there will be teams that look at it and say, oh yeah, in the playoff series, we can take them if we got the right personnel. The problem is getting the right personnel. And of course, Dame wants to do it there as opposed to going to New York or Philly or Brooklyn or anywhere else. A, because you can't trade him in the conference. B, because you're only going to trade him to a place that has a superstar level player there that can sort of amplify what Dame does well. I think it's a really curious situation. And I would say I won't say the clock is ticking, y'all, but the clock is kind of ticking when you're a 30-year-old and you played heavy minutes in a non-load management era. You can wake up one day and be James Harden.
Well, hey, listen, Vinny, Mike, I don't know if y'all want to tease the basketball gods here, see if you're in good standing with the basketball gods, but I do have a crazy idea, and I'm just trying to manipulate things because Michael Smith has made the point many times that Steph Curry is the greatest showman he's seen in team sports, the greatest showman, does everything together. He plays with a joy, he plays with a passion and a skill set that just makes him really attractive to many audiences. So let me throw this at you. Let me put up the Golden State Warriors schedule because Steph Curry is very close. I think it's 9. Is he 9 threes away from breaking
10, I believe it is.
Ray Allen's record?
10 to pass. 9 to tie, 10 to pass.
10 to pass. 9 to tie, 10 to pass. It might be a good time at the Pacers. Might be a good time for a load management day, Steve Kerr. Because let's say you make 6 or 7, you got to play against your brother. You make 6 or 7 against Philly. Let's say you make 8.
That's not nice.
Against Philly.
That's not nice. That's not
then
nice. I'm offended by
this. You take a day off. You got to give a day of rest against Indiana. And then Madison Square Garden, TNT, next Tuesday. Steph Curry breaks the record, because he can't break it at home, breaks the record at Madison Square Garden. Vinny, you down with it? As a
son of the Midwest, how you just gonna crap on Indiana like that, man? Like, they got people that pay money. Ain't nobody checking for Indiana. To go to Indianapolis to see Steph Curry. They're not gonna see him the rest of the year. Like, why aren't they entitled to see history? Why do they have to see it more than MSG?
You know why?
The world's most famous arena. Why?
Because they're the Hoosier state. Go watch some high school basketball. That's what y'all, you Hoosiers, you love the sport for the purity of it. Go watch high school basketball. Ain't nobody thinking about you, Indiana. You're about to trade your two best players anyway. How about that, Vinny? Madison Square Garden. Steph Curry breaks the record. You like it? You down?
I mean, that could wind up happening regardless. Even if he does play, I don't know if you've seen him shoot the last couple of games. He has not been Steph Curry-like, so there's always the possibility of his shot just may not be on. So, but while I do understand, your point about the Indiana Pacers, who's going to, like, how would that be apropos? Unless you're saying the adopted home of Reggie Miller, who was one of the three-point kings before, Ray Allen took over and everything else. There's some synergy there. Maybe not in Philadelphia unless you're going to say, your parents are there to see you and your brother go up against each other, that type of thing. But of course, Madison Square Garden, I think a lot of us from an NBA level were introduced to Stephen Curry, NBA superstar, with that 50-point game that I think he had in 20. Yeah, he gave them a 50-piece in 2013, I believe. Yeah. And that's when we were like, oh, okay, this guy is healthy, coming off those ankle injuries and everything else. So there could be some synergy there. I just don't like manufacturing and trying to engineer something in that way because you are tempting the basketball gods in a way that I don't feel comfortable doing. That's just me. That's just me.
We got to let you go, but I do want to get you out with one quick question. Just since we spitball on top of your head. Who's the third best team in the NBA right now? We know who the two best are. That's easy. They've separated themselves. Who's the third best team in the NBA right now?
The Milwaukee Bucks, the champs. That's pretty easy. Music to Michael Holley's ears. Music to Michael Holley's ears. I'm sure it is.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, listen, I didn't know it's gonna be that easy for you. But yeah, I mean,
my only problem is
last night
notwithstanding. Was
it last night? Yeah, last night notwithstanding. They've been playing good basketball lately. You always on point, Vinny Goodwill. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Hey, appreciate y'all.
Do this for the people. Do that for the people. This is the first thing we see from Vinny when he's on his phone.
Look at him wave.
Getting seasick out this mug. Getting seasick. Getting seasick. Boy, I'm glad you got that line on your forehead. Where's the line on your forehead? You got a line right there.
You got tied it up.
No more. I've retired the do-rag.
You retired. This is natural.
How you get waves like that?
You just got them flowing like that, huh?
You got special brushes,
Michael Smith. Michael Smith, you come. Mike, you got more hairstyles than Jalen Rose, and you asking what we do with our hair. One day you got a curly. One day you look like Maxwell. The next day you look like you got locks. Now you come back with the regular crispy fade, and you asking about me.
Remind me to tell you about the time I tried to get a mohawk like 2 weekends ago. Right, I was wearing I tried to get I couldn't pull that off. I have limitations. Even I have limitations.
Man, you were trying to. That was intentional, huh?
I was doing too much. All right, Vin. Appreciate you.
See y'all.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.